My fiancée publicly said my job was pathetic, admitted she was seeing a more successful man, and threw my engagement ring at me. Months later, she tried to break into my house and got arrested. My name is Luke. I'm 32 from Pittsburgh, and 3 years of my life ended in one surreal Sunday dinner when my fiancée cheated on me, humiliated me in front of her entire family, and threw the engagement ring at my chest while announcing she'd forget me in a week. But strangely enough, that disaster ended up fixing my life. I rebuild heavy equipment for a living, excavators, loaders, anything with hydraulics, and I like the work because machines don't lie. If something's broken, you find the problem and fix it. Outside work, my life was simple. Boxing twice a week at an old gym that smelled like leather and sweat, eating the same turkey and Swiss sandwich by the river during lunch, and restoring a rusted 1973 Dodge Challenger I'd pulled out of a field. My friend Ray always told me after his messy divorce, memories fade, but receipts don't lie. So when Fiona and I planned our wedding and agreed to split everything 50-50, I tracked every payment and every text. She'd say things like, "Relax, I'll send my half next week," but the money rarely came, while her Instagram filled with spa trips and expensive dinners. I ignored the red flags until she told me one Tuesday, "My family wants us over Sunday to finalize wedding plans." I said, "Cool, I'll come after I finish working on the Challenger." She rolled her eyes. "You always choose that stupid car over family." Sunday dinner started normal, her dad grilling, her sister Janet chatting, but halfway through Fiona suddenly turned the conversation toward money. "Some people," she said, staring straight at me, "aren't really stepping up financially." Janet laughed awkwardly, and her mom nodded like they'd heard this speech already. Fiona kept going. "Your job fixing trucks isn't ambition, Luke, and that rust bucket you waste money on? That could have gone toward our future." I stayed quiet while she delivered the real blow. "I've been seeing someone else," she said calmly. "Someone with a real career." Her family just sat there like it was a presentation they'd rehearsed. Then she twisted the engagement ring off her finger. "You know what? I'm done with this charade." She threw it at my chest. The ring hit the floor with a sharp clink. "I'll forget you in a week," she added coldly. For a second, the room went silent. Instead of arguing, I bent down, picked up the ring, and slipped it into my pocket. I walked to the kitchen counter where her dad stood and set her house key down. "Thanks for dinner, Mr. Parker," I said. Then I left. At the end of the driveway, Ray's truck pulled up because we had a code word system if things ever went bad. As I got in, he glanced at me and said, "Well, that was either the fastest dinner in history or the cleanest breakup I've ever seen." I shrugged. Weddings canceled. Instead of falling apart, I handled everything like a repair job. New locks on my house, canceled wedding vendors, separated bank accounts, and documented every text she sent. And she sent a lot. "You can't just ignore me," one message read. Another said, "Everyone thinks you're pathetic." Meanwhile, I kept boxing, kept working on the Challenger, and slowly learned the truth. Her new guy, Kevin, was married. His wife discovered the affair, and he dumped Fiona instantly. Suddenly, the woman who said she'd forget me in a week started calling from random numbers and even driving past my house. Because I documented everything, the police already had a record when she finally showed up drunk in my garage months later while I was working on the Challenger with a coworker named Laura. Fiona stumbled inside, shouting, "Look at you hiding in this pathetic garage." Laura didn't even look up from the seat she was installing. "Lady," she said calmly, tightening a bolt. "I've rebuilt more engines than you've had hot dinners." Fiona snapped. "Stay out of this." Laura stood slowly and replied, "Or what?" Minutes later, the police arrived. One officer flipped through my notebook and said, "Ma'am, you're under arrest for trespassing and public intoxication." As they led her away, she screamed, "He ruined my life." The officer glanced at me and said, "Your documentation made this easy." After they drove off, Laura wiped her hands and nodded toward the Challenger. "Seats installed. Want to test drive it?" I started the engine and the rebuilt V8 roared to life. Fiona said she'd forget me in a week. 3 months later, she was the one getting arrested in my garage, while I was driving away in a restored muscle car with someone who actually enjoyed talking about engines.